Have you ever wanted to go to Universal Studios? Specifically Universal Studios in Osaka, Japan, but you just don't have the money? Well, I got the next best thing. The video game Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure. This will only cost you about 30 bucks, or for free if you emulate it. Now, you might not have known about this bizarre game for the GameCube, but it was made to promote the newly built Universal Studios theme park in Japan. I have no idea where or how I got this game, but it just ended up in my roster of GameCube games, and I have a lot of fond memories playing it, although I don't ever remember it being set in Japan. I must have been a pretty stupid kid, because me and my family made a few trips out to California when I was younger, and we went to Universal Studios there, and I was like, I'll know this place like the back of my hand. And then when we got there, I was like, oh, I guess it must have changed over the years because it's not how I remembered it from the game. And it wasn't until recently that I went to Japan and wound up at Universal Studios in Osaka. And I was like, why does this place look so fucking familiar? I didn't even put two and two together until after we got back from Japan. So I guess I'm still stupid. Anyways, this game has a reputation of being one of the worst games of all time. I do remember having fond memories of this game, but I also remember being confused and not knowing what to do in it sometimes. So let's check out this game and see how bad it really is. So this game was released for the GameCube in 2001, developed by Naya Digital and published by Kemco. I know a little bit about Kemco, but Naya Digital is practically unheard of online. It seems like they developed this game and couldn't handle the bad reviews and just dipped. The only thing I can find online about it is that it's a Japanese company. And if you know anything else about this game or the developer, let me know in the comments. I know that tourism to Japan is very big now, but at the time this came out I assumed it was a lot less, which makes me wonder why they would even release this game outside of Japan. I understand that all the IP is stuff we know in the West and could still promote tourism to Universal Studios in the US, but it just seems so strange. I guess it fooled my ass as a kid, so who am I to judge? Anyways, in this game you get to experience Universal Studios Japan by exploring the park and going to attractions that turn into mini-games that can be played solo or with friends. So let's go ahead and check out this game and see if it deserves all the hate. The game starts out with a cutscene of Woody Woodpecker riding the DeLorean from Back to the Future through USJ before we get a look at some of the attractions in the theme park. The main menu then opens up and you can create a new game, select the difficulty, select rumble on or off, enter your name, and then choose your player. We get this cutscene showing off the front of USJ, and I even remember as a kid being confused at this part because our character is on the screen but he's so fucking small, it isn't until he moves into the next area you can kind of figure out what's going on. He runs over to the Universal logo where we meet Woody Woodpecker. Woody is the mascot of this game that tells you what to do because Universal Studios doesn't have their own Mickey Mouse, so Woody's as good as they're gonna get. He tells us about the interesting attractions that feature special games around the park that if you complete them will give you a stamp. He tells us the first thing we should do is go for a walk around the park. I talked to him again where he said I can exchange points, but I knew I didn't have any, so I just walked away and made my way into the park. I was getting a little nostalgic thinking about playing this game as a kid, as well as USJ when I was there, but I was taken out of that immersion pretty quick, because after walking further into the park, picking up letters at Universal Studios along the way, I got to a point where these people were like, do you have a map? It's at the front gate if you don't have one. So I have to walk my ass all the way back to the front to get the map. And walking is no easy task in this game. You have these terrible looking pre-rendered levels with fixed camera angles, AI running all over the place, and your character moves super slow. When walking into a new area, it's sometimes hard to see where you are with the perspective being locked. And then it's also hard to figure out where to go since there are areas you can see the AI walk into but you can't. Also due to the perspective change, sometimes you leave the level on the right and then come in at the left and will hit the wrong direction and go back to the previous area, so it takes a lot of getting used to trying to figure out where you can and can't go. After I got my map, I stumbled into Winnie Woodpecker, who has a movie trivia quiz you can do. You get a multiple choice question about a Universal Studios movie, and you gotta get 10 questions right with getting less than 3 wrong. The questions for me started off not too bad, but then they started getting super obscure, asking me about super specific things in movies that I think only die-hard fans would get correct. I failed after my 6th question on my first attempt, and then proceeded to fail for the next 10 minutes, and every time I failed, Winnie would say,
"You need to watch more movies."
Motherfucker, have you seen my Letterboxd account? Also too, you can't tell me to watch more movies after asking me the size of USJ and hectares in the year 2001. I gave up on the quiz for now and found myself at the ET ride. I walked in and was given a tutorial on how to play. You pedal your bike with ET riding in the front of it and dodge obstacles and reach the goal before the time limit. This minigame wouldn't have been as bad if I could figure out how to land the jumps because I kept eating shit, but this game doesn't really do too much. The minigame goes on for too long, and when it comes to the part in ET that everybody loves with the flying flying bikes, you don't even get to control it. I actually remember playing this one the most as a kid, and after finishing it, I started to make my way to the other attractions. But after getting to the Jaws attraction, there was a big lineup of people, and I couldn't ride the attraction. This game is pretty realistic because when I was at USJ, the lineups were all minimum of 3 hours. The only one that wasn't was the Chainsaw Man 4D experience, which was amazing. Then we had a lot of fun watching the My Melody and Kuromi show, which was so amazing. But honestly, I had a lot more fun just walking through the back alleys in Osaka. Don't get me wrong, USJ was still cool, but it felt like I was taken out of Japan for a little bit when I was there. Anyways, back to the game. I thought maybe there was a certain order in which you had to ride the attractions, but after walking around to every single attraction, I was met with a lineup on every single one. It felt like such a waste of time doing this. The only one I can experience was the Waterworld attraction, which is the most stupid shit ever. You just see the last few seconds of the Waterworld show in 3D from different perspectives. The show in person is such an amazing experience, but this is so lame. They could have at least thought of a minigame or something for it. But after leaving that, I can now pick up trash along the way. That when going to a garbage can, you can throw it out and you'll get points. And those points can be used to buy hats in order to ride the attractions as much as you want. Or you can buy an e-pass that allows you to ride the attraction once. You also get more points by completing the rides, or also by shaking hands with mascots walking around the park. But this wasn't all simple for me, because I'm a bit of a dumbass. When I bought the hats for the rides, I walked up to the attraction, but I still couldn't ride it. And I was like, shit, I guess I gotta equip it. And I pressed every single button, except for the Z button. But come on, which game uses the Z button to pause it? I don't remember ever seeing a tutorial that said use the Z button, but I could have just missed it. Again, I am a dumbass. So I ended up buying a lot of the express tickets before I figured out how to use the hats. But anyways, before I started making my way through completing the rides, I toughed it out and completed the movie quiz, and then went over to the Back to the Future ride. This game has you fly around the DeLorean while dodging obstacles and trying to crash into Biff, who is in another stolen DeLorean. You travel through different times and places before crashing into Biff enough for him to be captured by the police. This game controls all right and can be fun for the first little bit, but it suffers from going on for way too long. It just gets boring crashing into Biff over and over again. The next game I went to was the Wild 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 West, which is a point and shoot game that you just have to shoot targets against other cowboys to get the higher score. This one actually wasn't too bad. I had fun just locking in and shooting everything down. And this one doesn't go on for too long either. I then went on the Backdraft ride, which has you go from room to room putting out fires, dodging flames, and rescuing people. This one has some really terrible controls. The aiming when putting out fires is so finicky and just not good. This one goes on for quite a long time too, but actually has enough obstacles and challenges between each room to keep it a little interesting, but it's just held back with the controls. Leaving this attraction had the park turn from day to night, and with that, I was able to collect all the letters of the Universal Studios and get that stamp. I then headed over to the Jaws ride, which has you protect a boat from Jaws by chucking barrels off the boat when Jaws approaches the ship. If you miss, he takes a chunk off the boat until he sinks it. This one actually wasn't too bad either. Aiming the shot on Jaws was a little hard, but it doesn't go on for too long. And it's cool that Jaws actually takes a chunk out of the ship, making it harder to navigate. With that one done, it's time for the final minigame, Jurassic Park. This one has you gun down dinosaurs on the back of a vehicle while also holding on when things get crazy. This one started off not bad. You can shoot at the dinosaurs by mashing A, or you can hold it down to charge a lock-on shot. And it wouldn't have been not too bad if it didn't go on for so long. With chunks of the game where there was just no dinos around at all. I was hoping at every turn that the game would just end. And with beating that one, all the stamps have been stamped. Now it's time to go back to Woody, who gives you the option to view Hollywood Magic. That plays a cutscene of a light show that ends off the game and plays the credits. This also unlocks the attraction mode where you can play all the mini games from the main menu, but it also resets our progress for the main game and has you restart completely. And I ended my gameplay there. It's actually quite a short game. It took me less than 2 hours to do all this. But there are a few things I didn't do. There's a pair of T-Rex shoes for 6,000 points that I didn't want to spend the points on, but they increase your walk speed by a bit. I beat the game on easy mode just to get through it a bit faster, but if you beat it on medium or hard mode, you get more points, as well as a red stamp instead of a blue one. You can then save your points for a hoverboard from Back to the Future that allows you to ride through the park way faster. There's also some multiplayer for certain minigames, but I couldn't find any gameplay of it, so I plugged in an extra controller to record some gameplay by myself, because I doubt anyone would ever play this with me. Now after experiencing this game once again, what are my final thoughts about it? This game was pretty bad. There are amazing theme park games out there, but this is not one of them. Walking around the park is one of the worst experiences in this game. Not only are the controls terrible, being super slow, and the perspective and graphics make it hard to see, but the game is like 50% walking and backtracking around the park, which makes half of this game so bad. The other half of the game are the mini games, which are mostly bad. They suffer from terrible controls, but also from going on for too long. Even if they added a few more mini games and shortened the length of the others, it would make for a better experience. But despite being a terrible game, it was still a memorable part of my childhood. And I'm glad now that I got to experience Universal Studios Japan in person after having all these memories playing the game as a kid. Let me know if you played this game or any other theme park games. I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon on the PC all the time, as well as Thrillville Off the Rails on the Xbox 360. Maybe I'll make a video about those one day, so stay subscribed to tune in for that. Peace.